Okay, we all set?
We are set.
Looks like 8:24 a.m. We'll start the meeting for the Police and Public Safety Committee. I'm just going to take quick attendance. I'm listed under Northeast Chiefs, but that's me. I have Alexis Kim, Bill McPartlin, Brian Backus, Mike Stevens, otherwise known as Caterino Tabano, Eric Amberger, Michelle Martinelli, Michelle Mazurik, Bill Lawrence, Paul Sebesta, Stan Faminsky, and Supervisor Syed. Is there anybody else in the meeting that I didn't call? All right.
Judge Scagnelli just joined.
And Judge, you made it. Sorry about the confusion. All right. Okay. So we'll begin with a motion to accept the May minutes. Can I get a motion for that? Was that you, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there anyone opposed with accepting the May minutes? Hearing none, that passes. Operationally, the Schenectady Protests, 2 evenings ago, there were large protests down in Schenectady. The evening after, Albany had experienced some civil unrest. We responded at a mutual aid request from the city of Schenectady. Our police department, as well as many others, went down to assist in their operations. Fortunately, the protests remained peaceful, and there were no reported injuries to either any protesters or police officers that I'm aware of. We received a lot of positive feedback on our officers that responded down. We had gone in 3 separate squads. One squad was deployed to protect the perimeter of the police department. Another squad was deployed as a potential arrest team for any police lines that may have been needed. Unfortunately, they weren't needed. And then 4 of our officers answered calls for service in the city of Schenectady, while the Schenectady Police Department dealt with the protests. And then our officers here also kept answering calls for service in the town, because obviously they don't stop. So I received a lot of positive feedback from everybody on that. We have an update for the larcenies from vehicles. Back March through the middle of May, we had a large number of thefts from vehicles overnight. We had put together some extra patrols, also using the Schenectady County Street Crimes Task Force. We had worked with other agencies, Guilderland, Rotterdam, who were experiencing similar crimes, and Detective Sergeant Joe Twitty handled the investigation and followed leads that led us to be able to arrest 2 individuals and charge them with grand larceny in our town for what we were able to tie them to in some of the cases here. They'll be facing charges in other agencies as well. Hold on one second. I'm just going to turn on the screen here. So I just wanted to give Joe Twitty a shout out on that. Did a really good job. Obviously, with the rest of the larcenies that we weren't able to tie them to, we're still investigating that. But we have seen a almost an entire decrease in thefts from vehicles as of now. The traffic enforcement unit, starting yesterday, we redeployed the traffic enforcement unit. We assigned 2 officers to it. It had been postponed early in the COVID. So we brought that back with an additional officer. So we have 1 who is assigned to the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift, and a second officer who is assigned to the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift. So traffic enforcement, you're going to see, our units out there stopping cars, creating an omnipresence to give the impression to those who would commit crimes in the town that, we are everywhere, and also in an effort to reduce crashes. The walk-in window service, I just wanted to report the numbers over the last 3 months that we've had. I forgot to write them down, but even through COVID and everything, people continue to walk in, and the clerks have been handling that, as well as continual discovery. Even though the courts are shut down, we continue to make arrests. So discovery is still a needed process, and we appreciate their efforts. And then I had just talked to Matt Yetto just to see if he had an update on the fuel pump relocation up to the District 1 substation on River Road. He indicated they're doing some ordering, and his anticipated time of completion would be midsummer. We still continue to fuel up down at the transfer station. So we are set there until the new pumps are installed. Any questions on anything operational?
I just want to reiterate the beginning when you spoke about the Schenectady Protests. I also got many emails, calls about how professional all of our officers were, and how, the Niskayuna Police Department during that came out as, on top. Very good with the crowd, very good at standing their ground and listening, and just did a fantastic job. So I want to thank everyone that served on that, and you and the deputy chief for organizing that, and a good job.
As well as Lieutenant Wall.
And Lieutenant Wall, yes.
She was right in the command post with us, so.
Great job, really. I watched the video. There's a video out there, and I recommend people watch it. You can kind of speed through it if you want. It's about an hour long, but it's difficult for the officers who have to stand there and listen to people, say things to them that would really get anyone upset. And they just were very, very professional and really calmed the crowd by their professionalism.
Yeah, and it's not something we do on a regular basis or even periodically. This was something new for most of our officers. Some of the more veteran officers remember many years ago when we had a strike line detail at the GE R&D, where we deployed for that. In that, we had, a lot of notice. We were able to plan quite a bit in advance for that. But this was a little different. This was, short notice and not something, a lot of our officers have experienced before. So they all did an exceptional job, and they should be commended. All right. Anything else operationally?
Just on the protest issue, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. I think that there's students organizing a peaceful protest, either at the town hall or I think the school. When that's happened in the past, to the extent it has, I know that there anything with this public room, but do you like to get a heads up? Or?
Absolutely. If nothing else, just for knowing numbers that they expect, so we can have traffic control in place. And, if there's any marching between the school and the town hall, we want to make sure that the protesters are safe and that kind of thing. So, yeah, any heads up we can have. If you have a contact with any organizer, if you could pass that along to us so we can follow up with that, that'd be great.
Will do.
Okay. Just moving on to the fleet and equipment. I didn't put it on here. Our vehicles that we had ordered in January, they may be start to be built now. All of the vehicle manufacturers obviously slowed down or shut down during COVID, and that pushed off all the production of vehicles. So we hope to get them sooner than later, but we're not holding our breath on that, certainly. We have our speed trailer back in service. We had to order some new batteries for that, and Andrew Smith helped us out with getting that done, getting them installed, charged up. So that's ready to go. We'll be deploying that. As we know, we're ordering 4 new radar signs. So when those are received, the Highway Department will get them up and ready to be deployed and then deploy them. And we'll work together to determine our areas for that. The building. So our Sallyport garage door has been experiencing a lot of malfunctions over the past year and a half. It's a 25-year-old door and opener. Charlie Bergami has looked at it and determined that we need a new opener. It's a commercial grade opener. It's roughly a $2,000 unit. Ray Smith has agreed that he would take that out of his budget, and then the police department will just purchase any needed remotes for our vehicles. So we're going to take care of that. Decontamination efforts. I know that KPM is going to be here this coming weekend for another decontamination of the police department. And we continue to use Niskayuna Tire for periodic ozone treatments, and obviously our officers are taking care of washing down or wiping down our vehicles after every shift for each new officer. Just with regards to that, our PPE supply is currently pretty flush. Wipes seem to be the difficult thing to get. Charlie Bergami has some on order. Large supplies with stands. So we plan on putting one out in our Sallyport for officers for wiping down the vehicles, and one inside the station for use in there. So we're just waiting on delivery of that. We do have some wipes currently, and our N95 mask supply is thus far adequate. The building lock system. I had asked Charlie, I just put it on, I had asked Charlie for an update. I did not hear back from him. I know he was working on quotes, and I don't know, Paul, if you can weigh in on this. Paul Sebesta, if you know anything further. I know there had been some discussions between you and Charlie about different vendors and that kind of thing, but we're starting to experience now a malfunction with one of our readers at the administrative door. So this is really an urgent need. So I don't know where that stands, but I'd like to see it get on the agenda for this month.
The only thing I could add is that I did forward Charlie a list of many vendors that that handle these units, and he started doing his research several months ago. So that's about it. I just did some initial research on vendors under state contract.
Okay. I will then talk to Ray Smith to see if he can check with Charlie on that. Again, we're going to end up, I think, in having an issue. Right now, the town hall is locked down, and that's fine. But if we start having malfunctions to where, you know, we then can't reopen the doors, then we're going to have to make other arrangements, and that's just really cumbersome. So I will check on that with Ray. We don't have anything else for the building. I'm sorry. Anyone else have anything? Okay. With regards to training, no report. We had done some virtual use of force training. Detective Connor had put together a presentation with a PowerPoint that Bill Lawrence had helped us record. And then again, Mike's nephew helped us in putting it together on a split screen so that all our officers could watch it online. We plan on moving forward with reality-based training. We received most of our protective gear that we had ordered, the simunition weapons, and that kind of thing. So that'll be moving forward in the near future. And we will look to move toward our fall range and get that organized and ready to go. Our spring range was put off for COVID, but as the reopening occurs and that kind of thing, we're going to make arrangements to make sure everybody can do their training safely, but to be able to get it done. So no report is not really accurate. Citizen issues. I'd received a call from Lynn Schnell of, I believe, Killarney Drive or County Clare. She had some concerns about Mohawk Road with the new shutdown on Rosendale Road. Her concern was that Mohawk's now going to become a detour street. And as traffic backs up on Mohawk for Route 7, that people are going to be using Avon Crest North as a cut-through. She had requested some no through traffic signs. What I explained to her was that all the taxpayers pay for the roads, they're public highways, and while we can monitor certainly speeding complaints and stop sign complaints in the neighborhood, we really can't prevent people from utilizing the roadways. She had asked for perhaps a speed sign placement on Mohawk Road to address speeds. I explained to her that the town was purchasing some new signs and that Mohawk Road was one that we would look to have installed there, even without the detour. The detour, my understanding is westbound traffic on Rosendale Road will not be able to continue on to Route 7 through the traffic circle. That will just be Rosendale Road to River Road. And so anyone needing to access the upper part of Rosendale Road will have to come in through a different access point, whether it's Mohegan or Route 7. So they can get to the schools to pick up items for the kids. Obviously, they can get to the neighborhoods, Rosendale Estates and that kind of thing. But that will be shut down for quite some time. I believe the plan is to have the circle up and running by the time school starts. So that won't be an issue come fall. Mayfair Road, I had received some complaints on the stop signs on Mayfair Road. So we've asked our patrols to monitor that area and use the traffic enforcement unit specifically to target that area and other areas for stop sign violations and that kind of thing. We had received, I'm going to add just a couple, a complaint on Regent Street in Almeria. A woman who had spoke to the town a couple of years ago, she stated, and still saw a complaint in and around the area of Almeria. She had requested a stop sign on Regent Street. I have not yet been able to look at any crash data, although I don't believe there's been much on Regent Street at any of the intersecting streets, but that's something I'm going to follow up on, and we'll look at enforcement there as well. The other request was for Morgan Avenue at Village Road. A resident had asked to make that a three-way intersection. If you're not familiar with the area, Morgan Avenue crosses over St. David's Lane into Hexham Gardens and dead ends just beyond the intersection with Village Road. So Morgan Avenue is the through right-of-way, and Village Road has a stop sign to enter that intersection. So again, I'll look at crash data and that kind of thing, but I'm not sure the warrants will be there to warrant a stop sign at that intersection, but we will research it. Just one second. Any other citizen issues that anybody wants to bring up? Okay, Morgan and Regent. Community events. Michelle Martinelli had just sent out some information on elections for times that the town hall will have to be open. So between Charlie Bergami and our department, we'll make sure that those are open at the appropriate times.
And we're also having a meeting tomorrow to discuss this.
So there'll be some further information coming then?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Dan, back to citizen issues. You didn't discuss Blatnick Park and or Dean Street Park and the issues you've been having there. Could you speak to those?
Yep, that's actually next on the agenda under community events. So we've been receiving a number of complaints regarding basketball games at Blatnick Park and also Dean Street. Initially, there had been talk about modifying the rims or that kind of thing on the basketball courts to prevent play. Charlie Bergami had apparently installed something to cover the rims or to tie the nets. I'm not sure what the process was. Needless to say, that was undone, and we received some complaints on that. So a large group over the weekend was advised, and I believe that the rims there were taken down. So until the basketball court at the park is deemed being able to use, those will stay down. With regards to, go ahead.
Chief, I was just going to say, so the rims are in the back of my car. I assume that we'll probably have them reinstalled. I'll give them to Charlie. Charlie was out on vacation over the weekend. And on Monday, do we want to remove the one at Avon Crest for parity or is in River Road, or does it seem like the main issue is just at Blatnick Park?
Seems like it's Blatnick. I think the city of Schenectady has taken down their rims. So I think this was a group that had just come up from the city of Schenectady because the basketball court was available. But obviously, with social distancing requirements, they weren't able to meet that in the basketball game. So,
and then with respect to Dean Street, that's not a town park, isn't that owned the neighborhood?
Yeah,
equally?
so that's a parks district over there. So our jurisdiction's a little bit different. I think the town contracts to maintain the park as far as lawns and that kind of thing, but or at least they facilitate it. But with regards to use of it and that kind of thing, we can address it from a social distancing standpoint, but I'm not sure we have the authority to, modify the equipment over there. But that's something I can talk to Ray Smith about and see what we can do with that. With regards to Dean Street Park yesterday, I'm sorry.
The town owns that property. It is in a special improvement district, but it's a town parcel, and I believe we do have the ability to do the same, take down the hoops. It's not owned by the residents. They are assessed a fee, just like a sewer extension the town owns and is assessed to residents. Okay. So there are commissioners that are part of the residents that make up the district, but it is a town asset, town property.
Okay, and was the town responsible for installing all the equipment, the playgrounds and the basketball courts, that kind of thing?
Yeah, the town contracts for everything, installation of the hoops, paving, putting up, the town makes payment for the mowing. It's all under the town. Okay. All the residents pay into it as an improvement district. There are commissioners that volunteer to help with the oversight of it, but it's as much a town property as any. It has some restrictions to use to the people that are paying into it.
Okay, so that's something we can look at. I'll talk to Ray Smith about that. And,
I'm not suggesting we should do one thing or another. I'm just.
Well, I mean, if that's going to prevent the activity, then I think consistency is is the way to go. And that way, no one has a complaint that Blatnick Park or Dean Street Park are being specifically targeted, while we allow, Avon Crest Park or that kind of thing to continue utilizing that. So I'll address that with Ray. We did have a complaint yesterday, an ongoing complaint about an individual who was running a clinic. He apparently had advertised on Facebook. There was some confusion as to who was able to attend the clinic. Apparently the way it was listed on Facebook indicated that it was open to anyone. He is a resident of the Parks District, but the issue was that he was running clinics for, outside people. There was some confusion as to who gave him authority to do it, whether it was a member of the parks organization in that district. But we went over yesterday along with Councilwoman Jackweath, and it was discussed, and he has agreed not to utilize that space for the clinics, certainly at least for now. So that's pretty much parks and the social distancing. Obviously, the supervisor will send out guidance as to when different things at the parks will be available for use by the public. Anything else on community events? Okay, town clerk. The town clerk had sent out an email regarding the APF contract. I don't know if that was going to be a town attorney issue. I know every year we renew, but there were some specific issues that Michelle Martinelli had about recovery and being able to have fees paid and that kind of thing when a stray dog was taken. Michelle, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, we seem to have recurring issues with the animal shelter when our officers do bring the dogs over there with regards to when our residents can pick them up. The shelter is closed on Sunday and Mondays. Frequently, dogs get picked up on a Friday night. They don't actually realize that the residents don't realize that the dogs are at the shelter, and they don't try to claim them until, maybe Sunday, Monday, and they're closed. So that's become an issue in our contract. I think we need to somehow state that dogs will not be able to be picked up on Sundays and Mondays. Their hours are 12:30 to 4 Tuesdays through Saturdays. So that should maybe be something that, I'm not sure if that was actually in the contract, but those are the only times when there's something there to do actual paperwork. And also there's an issue with getting the paperwork back from the, excuse me, I'm sorry. Getting paperwork from the shelter, letting us know how many days we have to charge them for being at the shelter. So I would like to try to have it so that the residents pay the shelter fees when they pick the dogs up. And they just would come to me if they have to register their dog, license their dogs, and pay our $65 or $70 fee for our officer picking up the dog. So the shelter fee is just paid to the shelter, not to us. That
okay. So would this be more of a process, an internal process, or does this need to be a contractual issue? I mean, my fear if they pick up the dog from the shelter and the fees are paid there, that they're not going to come in to, register.
Correct. Well, they can't pick up the dog unless they have a license. So
Okay.
they would have to produce a license for one. And if they just go and pick up the dog and say, oh, the heck with the town, well, I will bill them. And second billing, third billing, and then would it go to the court? And then if they don't, could they get a, some type of appearance ticket? And then if they don't, can it be put on the taxes? And if it's a renter, then it would be the responsibility of the owner to get the fee.
So
We
it's
stand
gonna
to lose
require
much.
authorized by. Sorry, Paul, did you want to continue? I was going to say this will require an amendment.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So, Michelle, the only problem with having the putting the onerous on the owner of the dog to pay the fee to APF is that we're not up to the contract, the sheltering contract. So, I mean, I think the money will still have to either flow through the town. I was able to find all of the animal sheltering contracts for Doinsburg, Schenectady, Glenville, Princetown, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and Colony. And I can send you them to see how their arrangements are. Some of them are that the town pays the shelter a fixed fee and then collects the money after the fact from the residents, which is an option. I know there's an issue, you said, with the ability to pick up their dogs because of limited business hours. This would be something we'd have to coordinate with our new dog control officer, but our contract does allow 24 access by the dog control officer to the kennel. So hypothetically, it seems like we'd be able to access and go pick up the dog, but that would be more duties and responsibilities on our employee.
Right, and I don't know how that would work with the shelter for us to go and release dogs there. That's not something I think I'm really interested in because there are, other concerns. Yeah. I don't know if they're doing vaccinations.
Yeah, they need to make sure they have the rabies vaccination, and they can't be released without that.
Right. I would be hesitant to have our dog warden, get into the middle of that.
No.
I would like to add that we stand to lose much more from being stuck with the bill to the shelter, which we ultimately do have to pay in the event of a renter, say, picking up their dog once they have their dog. And if they have a large fee from this extended stay, it could be several $100s, and they just go away and we never find them again. We have got stuck with some significant fees. They add up quickly.
Well, Paul,
So
that's why I'm saying I want an amendment to this contract saying that that's their responsibility.
I'm in favor of the amendment and a change of the contract. I understand the contract suggests that we pay the shelter, but I think Michelle's amendment is desirable from a financial standpoint.
Can we set up a meeting maybe with Michelle, myself, the APF, and the town attorney to, maybe try to hash out some kind of an arrangement or agreement?
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I think we might need to do a local law if we could add it to the dog section with the fee, but regardless, this can be an issue that's addressed. One other thing is, though, Michelle Martinelli, is this something that has been brought to your attention because dogs have been picked up and dropped off at the shelter by our dog control officer or by other residents picking up their dog and dropping them off? Because don't we have the chip reader for dogs?
Yes. So that's a good thing that, I'm trying desperately not to have these dogs going to the shelter. The chip reader has gotten many dogs back to their owners, luckily. And with this dog census, we have licensed hundreds and hundreds of dogs with that census. So hopefully, if the owners keep the collar on the dog, keep that tag on the dog, those will go right back to their homes. The dogs won't go to the shelter. And that was my hope for doing the scanning and the chip reader and the dog census.
Right. And generally what we do, if we, have a stray that we're unable to identify, We will try the chip reader to see if that can give us information on the dog owner. And then we generally hold the dog for some period of time in our Sally Port, in an effort to wait, to see if a dog owner is going to call the police department to see if their dog was picked up. So we try pretty hard not to get the dogs to the shelter, but eventually that's where they'll go if we can't identify them or nobody claims them.
And Michelle Carroll just recently sent Lieutenant Wall a new list of the licensed dogs. So
Okay.
the department does have a list.
Michelle, I thought you wanted the ability for the owners to be able to pay at the shelter, because sometimes your office might not be available to take payment, and they were going back and forth.
Correct.
Between the shelter and the town to try to pay. So
That's where the amendment would come in.
want to allow them to pay,
Just the shelter fee.
so that they could pay at the shelter. But as Paul Sebesta said, I think the important thing is to make sure that the fee does get paid, and hopefully the town won't get stuck with it, which has happened in the past.
That's just for the shelter fee, yes. That amendment would be a big help, and the town wouldn't get stuck with those fees. The only fee that the town potentially could get stuck on, which is the fee when the officer brings the dog to the shelter. For the first offense, it's $70. So that's where, if they didn't come in and pay, that's where I would be sending a bill out to them.
Okay, so I think it's best, as you said, for the chief and the legal department and yourself to get together with APF and work it out. So it's going to benefit both the dog owners, and the town. So, everybody has the ability to get their dog back as quickly as possible, pay
Yes.
there, or they have to pay at the town.
So I have another thought on that whole subject. The dog control officer, that is his title.
Dog warden.
Oh, okay.
He's a dog warden. Yep, not animal control or
No.
yeah.
So,
dog.
okay. So on the truck that he drives,
Yes,
I believe it says animal control.
it may. Because
So
we've had that truck for I don't know how long, but yes.
may I suggest that we re-sign the truck, because it's very misleading to the residents. They call and say, I need the animal control officer to come over because I have a skunk in my yard, or I have a raccoon in my chimney, or it's very deceiving to the public. They think that animal control officer is going to, or dog, who they think is an animal control officer, who it really isn't, is going to come with that truck and take care of their wildlife.
Right. Which we don't do unless there is some concern with sickness of an animal and that kind of thing. Otherwise, wild animals are wild animals. And
Yeah.
we do get a lot of complaints, that there are skunks or foxes or coyotes and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So could we re-sign the truck?
I will look into it. That's kind of a pricey item, but if worse comes to worse, I think next year I'm going to be looking for a new vehicle for the dog warden. So we can address it then if we can't get it done before.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Anybody
you for
else have
listening to me.
anything on the APF? All right. The other thing I have on are vendor permits. Michelle, do you want to give us any kind of update on what's happening with those? I don't think I've received any this spring.
No, we haven't. We have gotten a couple in for Kona, the ice truck and also Mr. Dingaling.
Okay,
And I told them that, it's on hold. We're, not doing them yet, but their paperwork is in for when they are released to go out onto the streets that, we'll start to process those applications. I did get one application for Fox. I got Fox Pest Control the other day, and I'm just holding on to that also.
okay. And you'll let us know when you're going to start processing those.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the town is going to want people to go out door to door like that.
Right.
I don't know how the town wants me to handle that. I'm not
The
sure
advice-
residents are going to want people at their doorsteps at this time.
That's a good discussion. Yeah,
Lives.
door to door. Okay.
I think that's a discussion that we really have to look into. I don't know if maybe we should put something on our website stating that until further notice, things are suspended. Soliciting door to door is suspended. Alexis, how do you want to?
Well, yeah. So I think that there's a couple of options. So I mean, I think, as I said to you earlier, Michelle, just for the committee to hear, I think we should be consistent with how we treat all permits for businesses to operate in this unit. Like, so meaning that like food trucks, like ice cream trucks, Kona Ice, solicitors, peddlers would all be treated similar. Either we're not going to, I think their application and that, but that we can say that we're not going to be issuing the actual permit itself if you don't feel, but I'm not sure if you're waiting for, one of Regent to enter into phase 3 or phase, that gets kind of complicated because, I mean, unless you want to put an affirmative obligation on the applicant to provide proof, which is very, very easy to do, that they're authorized to operate under the New York Forward Plan. That would be an option. The other option is that we could just say until further notice, we will not be issuing them, and we could have the onus on the town to be checking to see if, for example, ice cream trucks are allowed to operate. But I think it's more prudent to put it on the business itself to provide proof to us that they're allowed to operate.
Okay.
Meaning,
I think
for example, Fox Control.
I think the question was, though, not so much whether they can operate, whether it's Kona Ice or Mr. Dingaling, but rather those businesses that would require their representatives to, actually go to a house and knock on the door.
Well, we would have to. I mean, we can say it's temporarily on hold, but and I think that's consistent with, I think I saw 2 towns in the state who've done that. But just like all of the procedure that we had to follow when we amended the peddler and solicitor chapter of the town code, I don't think we can make I mean, Supervisor Syed perhaps could if she extends the state of emergency, which is set to expire in the town of Niskuna on June 15th. But I don't think we would have the authority to just say no door-to-door soliciting a peddler without a code amendment. We could say that we're not processing that. We're not going to be issuing the applications. And I think that, I mean, the business itself, if they're not permitted to operate in New York, they're not going to be going door to door.
Is there a lawful requirement that we have to allow solicitors to approach houses?
Well, there's not. So, Michelle, are there any open permits, meaning ones that have not yet expired, because they have a property interest or property right in them? So we can't just take it away without giving them following procedural due process requirements. I mean, we cannot ban or prohibit First Amendment protective door-to-door solicitation.
I'd have to see whose year is up. I'm not sure exactly. I don't believe we have any opened ones at this time. I think they're all over their year.
Well, I guess maybe the temporary compromise would be that you can accept applications to the extent that they are sent electronically, but that since the town hall is not, until the town hall is open to the public, we won't be issuing permits. That just seems reasonable and it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we can try that.
I mean, but yeah, we can talk more about this, Michelle. Just that's I think, rather than do a flat out ban on door-to-door solicitation for indefinitely, we can just withhold processing and issuing the permits for a few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on vendor permits? Okay. Moving to court issues. I just know that Judge Swinton had sent me a text. He was unable to get in to the meeting, but he just wanted to indicate that there's the delay now in reopening the court until August. But Judge Scagnelli, maybe you can weigh in on that?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. So we were shooting for opening tomorrow, and we received a order from Judge Katina indicating that all civil and criminal matters would be adjourned to August 1st, unless they were in custody, and then it would be sooner. We were to meet with the supervisor and other parties to discuss logistics, and because people are still getting arrested, they're being arraigned remotely, and these cases are languishing. Our concern is that we're going to have one heck of a backlog, and how do we open up? How do we keep social distancing? You're all familiar with the dimensions of the courtroom, the seating arrangements. So those are the issues that we challenge. Now, Judge Katina indicated that we may be able to open up sooner than August 1, but your guess is as good as mine. Our big concern, of course, is logistics and backlog. And we may, I'm betting we'll, instead of having court one night a week, we're probably going to go to 2 nights a week. And you're going to, and all of that has to be coordinated with the district attorney's office, as well as, the public defender, the conflict defender, because we need the people from those agencies in the courtroom to do it. So.
Okay, makes sense. Moving on to fire departments. Chief Dale was also unable to get in, but he sent me a text. He just wanted to let Brian Backus know that he'll be reviewing the emergency plan draft, as will I. And otherwise, his armored vests went into service for his members. And he was just asking for an update on the gas pumps, which we already talked about. So that's it for the fire department. I don't have anything for the school district. Brian, anything from that side that you're aware of?
No, Chief, not at all.
Okay. Army vests. Okay, and then just moving down to personnel. Mara Walter, she's one of our newer officers. She continues to go to school for her to work toward her degree. And contractually, there's a provision for officers to be reimbursed for tuition upon successful completion of those courses. We had talked about this back in, I believe, January, when she had signed up and asked for the approval for the reimbursement. There is I don't know if the language is for budgetary consideration, but that's something I think we need to discuss. It's not particularly in my budget. As to whether the money can be found. I don't have the exact amount with me, but
well, it's so the PBA contract. So is it for the? I'm looking at the.
You broke up really bad, Alexis. I don't know what you said.
I said, is this for a degree or is this for the course? Sorry if I missed the beginning. I have the PBA contract in front of me and it has the monetary limit.
Yeah, she's moving toward her degree, so it's continuing her education toward that. So maybe it's just a discussion we can have. Bill McPartland, Alexis, maybe, and Paul, just to see what that is. I know we've had officers in the past who have taken courses toward degrees, and they've received the reimbursement. But again, I'm just not sure what the budgetary consideration is and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, let's discuss it. Whatever we've done in the past, we should continue to do. If we've reimbursed other officers for this, we want to do that for her. If that's good practice.
Okay, that sounds good and seems reasonable.
Chief, the only stipulation, I'm trying to find the section of the contract, and I'm not stumbling on it too readily, but is that the courses have to be pertaining to the department needs. You can't, primarily core courses, and that's what the hang-up's been, the glitch in the past, that there's some, other courses that are necessary in the completion of a bachelor's or whatever she's trying to achieve that may not qualify for reimbursement.
Right, and I know
Many do.
the courses she's taking are criminal justice related, whether it's homeland security,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So
those aren't a problem.
So I will, I'll put the numbers together. And if nothing else, maybe we can just move it to finance for approval. Paul, would you just put that on the finance agenda and I'll have all the numbers to talk about?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Just something a little different that I'm going to start doing, because we do receive, I guess, citizen letters that are complimentary as well as those that might not be regarding the police department. So I just wanted to put those out there. Anthony Comanzo, he received a complimentary letter from a Clifton Park resident who had broken down. She was elderly and was very impressed with Anthony Comanzo's professionalism, his assistance in getting her to a warm, safe environment, along with her husband, while they waited for assistance for their car. So that was a job well done by Anthony. Lenny Chase and Chris Henry, they actually responded to a medical call. We had gotten a very complimentary letter from the District 1 Fire Department. This particular incident involved a compound fracture, some significant hemorrhaging, and their actions using their training with tourniquets and that kind of thing. They were able to stabilize the individual while they were waiting for the fire department to arrive at the scene and treat the patient. So they sent a very complimentary letter over for those two officers. And Hashem Kafaga was the officer in charge that day and was also on the scene. So they were complimented that way. And then we just received a general Niskayuna Police Department citizen letter that complimented us on our professionalism and behavior down at the Schenectady protests. So each of those letters are put in our officers' personnel files, and they should just to recognize them as doing a good job and having a positive letter toward police, and they bring credit to the department. So I don't have anything else personnel wise. Is there anything else that anybody wants to put on the meeting that we haven't talked about?
Just the resolution compensating certain police officers for the time they spent obtaining antibody testing. I think this was discussed by email, but this is going to require a resolution. And I think it would emanate from this committee.
Gotcha. And I know that was on the resolution that was on the website. I'm looking at the one that wasn't updated. Yes.
We could probably just put that on for finance, but you're saying we need a resolution for that?
The resolution, I don't know if Paul Briggs is on this call. He was the one who said the resolution. I mean, I don't know if because it could be deemed a benefit or compensation, it's going through town board for approval rather than going through finance.
Okay.
Definitely compensation.
Mhm.
Okay. It doesn't hurt to put one on, even if it's, you know, not really required, but anything else?
Just under other discussion, so this is going to be discussed at Highway Parks and Rec Committee tomorrow morning, but NCAP received a grant and they want to donate the town signs that they're having custom made to place at various park locations within town, reminding people that it's illegal to use, to drink or vape if you're under a certain age. We're going to send all of that language to the town before they have them printed, obviously for approval. But they were wondering if they could include a contact number saying, like, in the event you witness someone underage drinking at the park, please contact, and then put like the dispatch number. Or would you rather just have it say the Niskayuna Police Department, or keep no contact information on there?
We can talk about that. Let me think about that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. Whether that's, whether 911's better, whether the non-emergency number, or just the police department. I'll think about that. We'll talk.
We want you to look at the verbiage and stuff for that. I know they've talked about these signs for a while, and we've been waiting. It's been a coordinated effort between NCAP and police, public safety, and Parks and Rec about what the sign actually will look like and what's going to be the verbiage on this sign.
I spoke with the president yesterday, and she's going to attend committee tomorrow morning. And like I said, she said that she'll send. They were on hold for a little bit, but they need to use the grant money before September. So once we give them the go ahead, and I think she was going to present the proposed language tomorrow, they can get moving on that. And I think they said that they were going to purchase or donate to the town 5 of them or so.
Is that the NCAP president or the organizer, the grant coordinator? Gene Sosno?
The president, yeah.
Okay. Anything else for any additions? All right. Well, then we are going to move into executive session to discuss certain information on personnel. After that, we will adjourn the meeting. We won't come back here, obviously, to do any other business. So can I get a motion to go into executive session?
The next meeting is July 7th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Bill.
So that they know, next meeting's July 7th, 8 a.m. And motion to adjourn the regular meeting and go into executive session.
Do I have a
Second
second?
motion. Second motion.
Thank you, Judge. Anyone opposed to adjourning this meeting? Okay, seeing none. Alexis, do you have the link for the executive session? I think Paul Briggs was the one put on that.
No, I don't have the link. Can someone forward it to me?
Yep.
All right.
Sure can.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, everybody,
Bye.
for coming, and enjoy your day.
Dan, I need that
Thank you.
link.
Have a good day.
Okay, Mike.
Thanks.